Wait now, wait. Wait. Mercy. Jesus, waiting be this. Wait, how does it take this the entire body now? Wait. No, they come out. Wait.
Welcome back. Back with another banger. It's the React Files, where we react to the creepiest, craziest, scariest TikToks you shouldn't watch alone. Hope you're having a good night. But before we go any further, let's take a second just to hit that like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. So what we gonna do? Run these numbers up. That's right. Let's get straight to it.
The schools own your children.
When you send your child to school, that's no longer your child. That's why they always wait for your kid to go to school. The police and CPS will wait till they go to school and go to school to talk to them, because the school is the parent now, and the school will give them access to your child. And you say, no, the school is your parent. That's why you have to have permission to get your child out of school. You just can't go get them out of school. You go to jail. It's not your child, but people don't know that. So you give up a lot of rights by sending your children to public schools as a parent. If an emergency was to happen in this country, and we've seen this, whether that's a school shooting, a terrorist attack, or a tornado, you cannot go get your kid. I don't care what's going on, because you're not the parent anymore. That's why the school is obligated to report things. That's why if your kid wanted to come to school and play Charlene instead of Charleston, the school don't have to tell you. And the school can have a dress-up closet for your kid to go to school and dress up as a girl while at school and not tell you nothing, because you're not the parent during these hours.
LeBron James' signature ritual before the game is actually a satanic ritual. First off, he does this. Yeah. Masonic symbol. Second motion, he does this. Throws up the sixes. Oh, you already know what that means. Yeah. Next step, he goes like this. That's the Baphomet chest release. And then next thing, he goes like this. That's called, I think it's like exfoliation or something, where it's like you release the demons outside your body, right? Mm-hmm. And then last move, he goes like this. So that's spreading the energy, and then he taps his teammates. So it like flourishes to all his teammates. Loki, LeBron, that year when he was doing it, he won.
Does he still do it?
No, he doesn't. He stopped that, yeah, he stopped that.
By the way, this video is scripted and for entertainment purposes only. Stay weird.
Like he said, it was for entertainment purposes only. So I took it as just that. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below.
I'm here in Gaza City. We are here next to a house of a terrorist. His house is right next to a school. His house is 200 yards from the hospital of Rantisi. Next to his house, there is a tunnel. The tunnel is built with electricity. It goes down directly to the tunnel. The tunnel is let down more than 20 meters down. It's part of the same floor, and it slides down here. So it's a covered tunnel, so nobody can find it. This is Rantisi Hospital. Hamas used this hospital. I will show you the evidence. We are now in the area of the basement of the hospital. I want to show you a room where we found all the gear, the operational gear of Hamas. Hamas is using hospitals. Look at what Hamas is holding inside the hospital. This kind of gear is a gear for a major fight. These are explosives. It's a body vest for terrorists to explode on forces. Among hospitals, among patients, we have hand grenades, Kalashnikovs, and then we have the RPGs. People shooting RPGs from hospitals. This is Hamas, firing RPGs for hospitals. The world has to understand who is Israel fighting against. We are now in the basement, and in this basement we found a motorcycle. They were all used in the massacre of the 7th of October. They came back from the massacre into Rantisi Hospital with hostages on a motorcycle, a woman, clothes, and a rope. a rope next to the legs. And look above this. It's a baby bottle in a basement. Above, a World Health Organization sign. This is a suspicion for an area where hostages were being held. You don't need to build something improvisedly in a hospital in the basement. Unless you want to hold someone in the basement, we can see this area is a closed area from the rest of the hospital. We can see the ventilation air that was done improvisedly to this area. And we can see infrastructures that was built in here, toilets, shower, a small kitchen, will provide the terrorists their needs. You're now entering into the room where we suspect the hostages were being held. People are putting curtains with nothing above, just wall. No reason to put here a curtain.
Yeah, that shit look crazy. I really hope both sides can come to a solution. Yo, imagine riding a tourist ride like that. That shit was big like a blimp. Only had like 6 people on it. Pedaling like it was a bicycle at the same time. Yo, if you know what that thing is called, let me know in the comments down below. That shit was dope. Yeah, he shot that correctly. At first, I couldn't tell if it was real or not. As the camera zoomed, I was able to see it was a peaceful protest. Like in some city's metro. If you know what city that was, let me know in the comments down below.
Why is Osama Bin Laden's letter to America going viral after more than 2 decades? TikTok users have a lot of thoughts regarding the letter, which was written following the 2001 terrorist attacks in the US. In the letter, Bin Laden explains the ideology that led him to the 9/11 attacks, citing America's support for Israel and the occupation of Palestinian territories among the reasons. The letter, which went viral thanks to TikTok user Lynette Adkins, was removed from The Guardian's website after it started getting more attention. In a statement to the Wrap, the outlet said they removed the transcript because it was being shared on social media without context. Many people are shocked to see any sympathy for Bin Laden, but others say it could be a sign of how split Americans are over the conflict in the Middle East. Given a recent poll found support for Israel has dropped in the US, and 68% of Americans now support a ceasefire in Gaza.
You have got to be lying. You have got to be kidding me. So let me get this straight. So the letter to America written by Osama Bin Laden went viral on TikTok. And now they've taken down the document. They removed the document so no one can access to it. Education is really the biggest one when it comes to the oppression. Wow, if you don't know now, America is showing its true color. They want us to, as the citizen, to stay brainwashed. So they can use us as a little puppet, use our money and everything. So we can just follow with what they're feeding us. Interesting. If you slide it out and say, no, I want to know, I want to educate myself, you're going against them. And they don't like that. I'm not shocked that if they're going to come up with the new election and saying, TikTok is brainwashing our generation.
So, while I do think it is deeply ironic and actually very funny that the guy who organized 9/11, Osama Bin Laden, is now kind of becoming the face of what radicalized a bunch of Americans into supporting a Middle Eastern country under apartheid, I think maybe, just maybe, the better route to take would be to pull from his source material. The concepts that he was critiquing in his letter, things like imperialism or the Western view of the Middle East or America's hand in the issues in the Middle East, he was not the first to critique them. And of course he was critiquing them in that letter mostly from personal experience, but to ideologically critique them, he was not the first. And you could read much better things that you wouldn't have to look over so much of and excuse and kind of like block out so much of in order to get what he was talking about. Namely the second portion of his letter. You wouldn't have to look over so much. Authors like Edward Said, who wrote Orientalism, or Frantz Fanon, who did Wretched of the Earth, or even Rashid Khalidi, who did the 100 Years' War in Palestine, you could get what he was talking about and go far deeper into it and understand it way better in reading these things instead of Letter to America. It's great to read, to just have knowledge of it and know what it says, but to kind of make it the face of what is radicalizing you all is maybe not the best idea. Just maybe not, because of the second portion of that letter. So maybe just something to think about while it's becoming or spreading like rapid fire on TikTok right now. Maybe.
Is this for real? Are we living in 2023 and we are now praising Osama Bin Laden? Everyone lost their fucking minds? To put it out there, in case you missed it, Osama Bin Laden was the leader of the terrorist organization Al-Qaeda. Just in case that like kind of went over people's heads. This is what happens when you give children a microphone and a voice with an app. Half of the people that are praising him weren't even alive when are people gonna wake up? When are people gonna wake up and realize that this country is going backwards instead of going forwards? Apparently they took down the United States flag in an Oakland high school today and put up a Palestinian flag instead. Like, where's this wokeness coming from? Do they want to destroy this country? The only country that's basically free to do whatever the hell they want? Never thought this day would come. Oh yeah, Americans are now supporting terrorists. And the news outlet that posted this, The Guardian, whoever that author was, I think they should reevaluate who their writers are and perhaps remove him. I think it's also worth noting that he was behind the 2 Boeing airplanes that crashed into the Twin Towers and brought the Twin Towers down. Yeah, there's a huge memorial for it in New York City. Yeah, just in case if you guys forgot, just, you know, we're not using facts anymore apparently, but, you know, just a food for thought.
Hey, what do y'all think about that? Y'all think those are beans or ticks? Because I be feeling like it's beans, but sometimes I feel like other parts of whoever's infested when his skin starts to move around slightly. I don't know. I'm confused. It makes me very itchy. That's creepy.
So shocked that Letter to America is trending. Just the name Osama Bin Laden reminds me of post 9/11 days. What Muslim and Afghan Americans went through. Do you know how hard it was to be looked at with suspicion just overnight? Muslims and Afghans, we were apologizing for 9/11 and none of us had anything to do with it. Personally, myself, after 9/11, I spent years working on projects and initiatives to teach Americans about Islam, because back then a lot of people didn't know much, but also trying to show that Afghans are not terrorists. Vigils, interfaith events, media talks, interviews, book readings, projects that would build cross-cultural relationships between East and West. And then over time, I slowly began to realize that this was about something else. This war on terror was more about geopolitical positioning for resources. And that's when my awakening happened many years ago, when I saw the lies, the manipulation, the injustices, the support of corruption. It feels like a kick to the gut. The phone call coming from inside the house. It's the things that have kept me up for years at night, and they still do. The things that make you feel like when you wake up, you're living in a nightmare, or you're living in an illusion, or a dream. Nothing feels real. And then something like this that's been going on for the past month, this genocide. And you see so many people waking up. And I think that's what this letter is doing. Doesn't mean that people who are reading it are agreeing with everything that he says in this letter, but it's just serving as a wake-up call. But then you see that there are people that are still blinded, or they're refusing to wake up. No matter how many evidences you present in front of their eyes, they still will not see it. Yeah, it feels like post 9/11 days where there was anti-Muslim attacks and feelings and rhetoric. But this time we're also seeing, so much footage. So much footage this past month of dead bodies, maimed bodies, burnt bodies. You guys know, you guys have seen it. It's been horrific. It's been shocking to actually see that and to see the world is watching. It's unfolding before our eyes. I just don't know how much more we can see. And you still see people denying that there is a genocide. And then you see people that you thought were pro-humanitarian, pro-justice, pro-peace. They've just become so hateful, racist, vile, genocidal maniacs. People that were talking about freedom and democracy since 9/11. And the ones who talked about liberating Muslim women, they're okay with ignoring women getting murdered and maimed and crushed and having their children killed in front of their eyes, being made to be widows and being displaced. They're okay with that. But they want to liberate Muslim women. And I realized their liberation just means taking the hijab off. So many masks have fallen off this past month. And it just feels like a nightmare that just won't end. But sometimes in the darkest days, we're meant to learn truths. With seeing these truths come to light, and it's been so shocking. But truths are gonna be what brings the darkness into.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, to the American people, peace be upon those who follow the righteous track. Hereafter, the subject of my talk to you is the overwhelming control of capital, VAR, money, and its effect on the ongoing war between us. I direct my talk specifically to those who support real change, especially the youth. I say from the onset, your former president warned you previously about the devastating Jewish control of capital, about a day that would come when it would enslave you. It has happened. Damn right it has. Your current president warns you now about the enormity of capital control, and it has a cycle whereby it devours humanity when it is devoid of precepts of God's law, Sharia. The tyranny of the control of capital by large companies has harmed your economy. Damn right it has. As it did ours. And that was my motivation for this talk. Tens of millions of you are below the poverty line. Millions have lost their homes, and millions have lost their jobs to mark the highest average unemployment in 60 years. Your financial system in its totality was about to collapse within 48 hours had not the administration reverted to using taxpayers' money to rescue the vultures by using the assets of the victims. As for us, our Iraq was invaded in response to pressure from capitalists with greed for black gold, and you continue to support the oppressive Israelis in their occupation of our Palestine in response to pressures on your administration by a Jewish lobby backed by enormous financial capabilities. So this guy knows what's going on. He knows Jews pretty much run America. Jewish capitalists, right? So far, he's been right. Do you see why they deleted this letter off the internet? An observer of the policies of the new administration realizes that the change is tactical and not strategic. It does not at all agree with the change you seek. There are very many indicators of this, especially concerning important matters related to your security and economy, particularly the ongoing war between us. The previous administration was successful in implicating you in these wars against us under the premise that they are necessary for your security or according to the promise that it would be short and would finish in 6 days or 6 weeks. 6 years have passed. That administration is gone without realizing the victory. The man calling for change promised you victory in Afghanistan and a set time for withdrawal. Before the end of the set time, Petraeus from the previous administration came and asked for an extension of 6 more months, if it was the 6-day war that started by President Bush, and 6 years have not been enough to finish it, then the wise men should question how long a 6-month war take, and whether you are able to fund a war that requires a large amount of money that weakens your economy and your dollar. For Obama to leave 1/3 of the soldiers in Iraq, and the statements from his administration about this, especially from a journal, about the possibility of Obama's ordering the return of all of forces he took out of Iraq, it would have been better for him had he disagreed with the ethics of the previous administration and adopted the truth as a friend and told you that he will not withdraw from Iraq, which may not serve the U.S. interest, but it is in the interest of the large corporations. The course of the policies of the present administration in several areas clearly reveals that whoever enters the White House, even with good intentions to safeguard the people's interest, is no more than a train operator. So even he knows our presidents are puppets. His only task is to keep the train on its tracks that are laid down by the lobbyists in New York and Washington to serve the interests first, their interests first, even if it's to counter your security and economy. Oh, that damn right. Any president who tries to move the train from the lobbyist tracks to a track for the American people's interest will confront a very strong opposition and pressures from the lobbyists, typically the Jewish lobbies like AIPAC. Your president described the decision by the court in favor of the corporations to intervene in the political arena as a victory. But it is not a victory for the American people except for the big corporations. There's no doubt about it that it is right. And it is also right for the administration to support the oppressive Israelis for the continued occupation of our land and the killing of our brothers, marking a victory for the Jewish lobby. And he knows. He knows. The president was not able to defend you against the security and economy loss. The way for change in freeing yourselves from the pressure of lobbyists is not through Republican or Democratic parties, but through undertaking a great revolution for freedom. Not to free Iraq from Saddam Hussein, but to free the White House and break free Barack Hussein so he can implement the change you seek. So he's assuming Obama is like trapped. He means well, but he can't do anything because of the Jewish lobby. And it's interesting. He mentions it in his book that there is this powerful Israeli lobby everyone's scared of. He mentions that, interestingly. It does not only include improvement of your economic situation and ensure your security, but more importantly, helps him in making a rational decision to save humanity from the harmful greenhouse gases that threaten its destiny. I didn't know he was into climate change. For the American youth to succeed in this change, they need to relive the history of their ancestors and the conditions in their country more than 2 centuries ago. That's right. We have to go back to 1776, right? How does this guy know more about saving this country than our own freaking government? It tells you a lot. They need to understand the similarities during the era and the present situation, especially in their fundamental conditions. The British Parliament sided with corporations, then against the interests of its citizens. You have noticed that Congresses stand with corporations against the people's interests when they refuse to legislate against interference in elections by corporations. The British military government of the United States used to have the right to appoint judges and mayors. Similarly, the corruption is deep-rooted now in all higher authorities, thus giving authorities over these offices to corporations. Subsequently, the higher court educated their support of political financing by corporations under some circumstances. Reading the book by the intellectual Thomas Paine helped your fathers in the revolution against the oppressors. It is useful for you to read it under the current similar circumstances. You are in need of people like Thomas Paine to publish books pointing out the similarities between the two phases and that will have a similar effect. You also are in need of men with courage and initiative like those of your forefathers at a time where they refused to allow one company to harm the interests of the United States, a company that had a monopoly on tea and its prices. Yet there are now many companies that have endangered the United States economy, which continues to be vulnerable to collapse, and they also formulate the policies of the White House. They threw hundreds of thousands of soldiers against us and have formed an alliance with the Israelis to oppress us and occupy our land. That was the reason for our response on the 11th. So Osama bin Laden is saying 9/11 was because of our alliance with Israel and what we've done to the people of the Middle East. See? So, Palestinians. Palestine has been under occupation for decades, and none of your presidents talked about it until after September 11, when Bush realized that your oppression and the tyranny against us were part of the reason for the attack. Then he talked about the necessity for two states. Obama is trying to address the issue with the same solution suggested by his predecessor. They're quilting fruitless solutions not of concern to us. If you want a real settlement that guarantees your security in your country and safeguards your economy from being depleted in a manner similar to our war of attrition against the Soviet Union, then you have to implement a roadmap that returns the Palestine land to us, all of it, from sea to the river. It is an Islamic land not subject to being traded or granted to any party. In conclusion, be assured that we do not fight for the mere killing, but to stop the killing of our people. It is a sin to kill a person without proper justifiable cause, but terminating his killer is a right. You should be aware that justice is the strongest army and security offers the best livelihood. You lost it by your own making when you supported the Israelis in occupying our land and killing our brothers in Palestine. The road to safety starts with the stopping of aggression. Palestine shall not be seen captive, for we will try to break its shackles. The United States shall pay for its arrogance with the blood of Christians and their funds. Peace be upon those who follow the righteous track.
Yeah, man, that's pretty chilling. Like, it seems like the time fits our time, even though this was years ago, right? What do you think about it? What do you think about the letter, and do you feel like it's being suppressed? Let me know in the comments down below. I find it very interesting.
Was Osama bin Laden right? Was his complaints against the United States actually valid? And are we in the wrong?
This morning I read Letter to America, which is Osama bin Laden's letter to America explaining why he attacked Americans. It's wild. This has left me very disillusioned.
My entire viewpoint on the entire life I have believed and I have lived has changed.
Go read A Letter to America. I feel like I'm going through like an existential crisis right now.
Reading this letter, it becomes apparent to me that the actions of 9/11 and those acts committed against the USA and its people were all just the buildup of our government failing other nations.
My voice just wants to lead you.
The way this letter is going viral right now is giving me the greatest sense of relief. Now it's all coming to light because of Palestine.
Hey. Are you even paying attention to me right now?
Like so many things that are effective, especially good propaganda, it does contain some truth with some half-truths and then mixed in with some outright fabrications and lies. All those things are mixed in there. Make sure you look at that with a grain of salt. When he says you're preventing us from doing what we want, we're not. We don't have anything to do with what Saudi Arabia believes. Egypt, Qatar, some of these other countries, we have nothing to do with any of those places. They run the rules that they want. Nobody stops them. Anybody who wants to follow Sharia law is free to go there right now in any of those countries, and they can practice it. So we need to be very, very careful that we don't listen so much to what Bin Laden says and take it all at face value and saying, yeah, because he was right on these areas here, ergo, all of his argument was right, and we shouldn't have done a lot of these things. There are many things that we shouldn't have done. There are many things that we're doing now we need to stop doing. And we're going to continue to call that out here at Deep Dive. But we just wanted to put this quick episode out that people understand a comprehensive balance about what they're seeing and that they don't go too far into believing something that now then our side is completely wrong and that he was right all along, because Bin Laden was never right all along. He had a few areas where he did have some legitimate points, and there are some things we could have done different. We could have actually taken heed to some of these things at the time, and a lot of this might have been avoided.
I agree with the OG. Sometimes you just need a senior's point of view, you know what I'm saying, to balance everything out. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, and that's what's going to bring us all together. What I think, but you know where I'm with it already, to the day we die, straight up. But I'm still willing to listen, no matter what. Word. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel about it. Do you like it? Do you hate it? You know, it's all good, man, for sure. And that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed tonight's rabbit hole. Unfortunately, it's come to an end. And if you haven't already, please take a second just to hit that like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, just to make sure the algorithm knows what's up. That's what we're gonna do. Run these numbers up. Thank you so much. Until next time.